Today we're going on an exciting adventure. We'll learn about the 25 prophets mentioned in the Qur'an. These special people received messages from God and showed people how to follow him. From Adam, the first man, to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all, each prophet's life is a guide for us. Their stories are full of amazing miracles, important teachings and lessons that inspire billions of people today. Join me as we explore the lives of these prophets, learn about their miracles, and understand their messages to grow stronger in our faith. Islam talks about 25 prophets in the Qur'an. Let's find out who they are, and some of the miracles God helped them perform. God, the all-powerful, the one who made everything, created Adam, the first human, from clay. This is the very first miracle. Imagine, friends, lifeless clay shaped by God, given life, and becoming the first person. Adam's story reminds us that God created us, and our purpose is to worship him. It teaches us about temptation and how important it is to ask God for forgiveness when we make mistakes. Remember God's words in the Qur'an. And indeed, we created man from an extract of clay. The Qur'an tells us Idris was a truthful and sincere man, chosen by God and raised to a high place. Some scholars believe he was the first person to write with a pen, showing his wisdom. The most amazing event in Idris's life is when God took him up to the heavens. While the Qur'an doesn't give us all the details, this shows God's incredible power and the special honor he gave to his prophets. Idris's story, though short in the Qur'an, teaches us about learning, living a good life, and knowing that God can bless anyone he chooses. Prophet Noah preached to people who had turned away from God, worshipping idols and doing bad things. For years he taught them to be patient, to keep believing, and to worship the one true God. But they laughed at him, refused to listen, and dared him to bring the punishment he warned them about. So God told Noah to build a huge ark, a safe place during the coming flood. Imagine, friends, the giant ark, built exactly as God instructed, a refuge for believers and animals, showing the power of faith when things are hard. Chapter 4. Hud, the Destruction of Aad and the Dangers of Being Arrogant. The people of Aad were strong and powerful, great builders. Prophet Hud warned them. He told them to be thankful for God's blessings, to stop being so proud, and to worship the one who gave them everything. But they were blinded by their wealth and power. They refused to listen to Hud, calling him crazy. So God punished them with a powerful, never-ending wind that wiped them out. Hud's story reminds us that worldly things don't last, and true strength comes from following God. Chapter 5. Saleh, the miracle of the She-Camel and what happens when we disobey. Prophet Saleh was sent to the people of Thamud. Like the Aad, they had turned away from God, becoming proud and corrupt. As a sign from God, a she-camel magically appeared from a rock. Saleh warned them not to hurt the camel. He told them to share water with it and see it as a sign of God's power. But they were too arrogant. They plotted against the camel and killed it, disobeying God. This terrible act brought their destruction. The earth shook and a loud sound from the sky destroyed them. Chapter 6. Ibrahim, the friend of God, tested by fire and sacrifice. Ibrahim, the father of prophets, the friend of God. His life shows us what strong faith and complete obedience to God look like. He challenged the idol worship of his people, even his own father, telling them to worship the one true God. He was thrown into a huge fire, but God protected him, and the fire became cool and peaceful. This miracle made his faith even stronger and inspired others. And who can forget the biggest test of Ibrahim's faith, when God asked him to sacrifice his son, Ismail. Imagine the difficulty, the huge sacrifice. But Ibrahim's faith was unshakable. As he prepared to obey, God provided a ram instead. Chapter 7. Ismail, Ibrahim's son, grew up in the desert, learning from his father what it means to obey God. He helped his father rebuild the Kaaba, God's house, in Makkah. This shows their strong faith. Ismail's story, though it doesn't talk about specific miracles in the Qur'an, is a powerful example of patience, obedience, and strong faith. His willingness to be sacrificed makes him a role model. Ismail's legacy continues in the Hajj pilgrimage, where Muslims follow the steps of Ibrahim and Ismail, promising their devotion to God and remembering their trials and triumphs. Chapter 8. The birth of Ishaq to Ibrahim and Sarah when they were old was a miracle. showing God's power to do even the impossible. Ishak's name means he laughed, showing the joy and wonder of his miraculous birth. Ishak's life teaches us about patience, acceptance, and trusting God's plan. He became a prophet, continuing his father's work of teaching people about the one true God. Through him, the line of prophets continued, leading to the final messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them all. The Qur'an says, "And we gave him the good news of Ishak, a prophet from among the righteous." Chapter 9. Yaqub, Ishak's son, inherited his ancestors' strong faith, devotion to God, and the duty to guide people. He was very patient, especially with his children. Yaqub's 12 sons became the 12 tribes of Israel, which changed history. Yaqub's story teaches us about family, forgiveness, and keeping faith even when things are hard. His belief in God, even when he thought his son Yusuf was lost, shows how faith can help us in tough times. Yusuf, Yaqub's son, was handsome and wise, but his brothers betrayed him, selling him into slavery. He was wrongly put in prison. But through it all, he trusted God. His story, told in detail in Surah Yusuf, shows God's justice. Falsely accused and separated from his father, Yusuf's patience and faith eventually made him powerful. He forgave his brothers and reunited with his family. Yusuf's life teaches us that God tests those he loves and that even in dark times he brings justice. Ayub was wealthy, had a family and was healthy. But God tested him by taking everything away, his wealth, family and health. He became very sick. Despite this, Ayub never stopped believing in God. His patience and faith inspire us when we face hardship. Remember God's words, "Indeed we found him patient, an excellent servant, indeed he was ever turning back to Allah." Shu'aib was sent to the people of Midian who cheated in business and worshipped idols. He told them to be honest, fair, and worship the one true God. He warned them that God would be angry if they didn't change, but they refused to listen, making fun of him. So an earthquake and a fiery blast from the sky destroyed them. Shu'aib's story shows us how important honesty and fairness are, and how dangerous it is to be corrupt. Musa is one of the most important prophets in Islam. God chose him to face the evil Pharaoh. Musa's life is full of miracles. From the burning bush that talked to him to the parting of the Red Sea, Musa's story shows God's power. His staff turned into a snake and swallowed the magic of Pharaoh's sorcerers, proving Musa's message was true. When Pharaoh's army chased the Israelites, God told Musa to hit the sea with his staff, and it split in two, letting his people escape. Musa's life teaches us about courage, never giving up and believing in God's power to bring justice. Harun, Musa's brother, was chosen by God to speak for Musa against Pharaoh. Harun was a wise and excellent speaker, helping Musa share God's message with Pharaoh and the Israelites. Together they faced Pharaoh, enduring his arrogance and challenging his false claims. Harun's faith and loyalty to his brother make him a symbol of support and steadfastness. His story shows us the importance of unity, brotherhood, and standing up for truth, even when it's hard. Dawood, a shepherd who became a king, was brave, just, and had a beautiful voice that even moved mountains and birds. God gave him the Zabur, Psalms, full of songs praising God. God gave him strength and wisdom to defeat the giant Goliath, showing us how to overcome big challenges. His kingdom was successful because he was just, and his prayers and songs echoed throughout the land. Dawood's life teaches us about humility, asking God for guidance, and the power of sincere devotion. Suleiman, Dawood's son, inherited his father's kingdom, wisdom, justice, and love for God. He could control the wind, understand animals, and control the Jinn, creatures made of fire. His story is full of amazing interactions with these beings. He used his gifts from God to build great things, lead armies, and be fair throughout his kingdom. He knew God was powerful and never let his own power make him forget God. Suleiman's life teaches us that true power comes from God, and even with great power we must stay humble and obey the Creator. Llyas was sent to the children of Israel, who worshipped idols and did bad things. He confronted their evil ruler Ahab and his wife Jezebel, challenging their idol worship. Even though people rejected and hurt him, Llyas kept preaching, reminding them of God's power. He told them to repent and ask for forgiveness. Llyas's story shows us the importance of standing up for truth, even when it's difficult, and calling people back to God, no matter how far they've strayed. God chose llyas to follow Llyas, continuing his work. He performed many miracles with God's help, healing the sick, creating food for the hungry, and even bringing a dead child back to life. Like Llyas, people opposed and rejected llyas, but he stayed strong in his faith, reminding people of God's power. Llyas's life shows us how important it is to continue the work of good people, spreading God's message and giving hope to those who seek truth. Chapter 19. Yunus was sent to the wicked city of Nineveh. Upset because they didn't listen, he left without God's permission. He boarded a ship caught in a storm. He was chosen to be thrown overboard and was swallowed by a whale. Inside the whale he realized his mistake and prayed to God. God heard him and told the whale to return Yunus to shore. He continued his mission, now more patient and trusting in God's plan. Yunus's story teaches us to always ask for God's permission, the power of truly being sorry, and God's great mercy in forgiving those who turn to him. Chapter 20. Zachariah was a good man, old, but wanting a son to continue his faith. He prayed to God for a child. God, in his kindness, promised him a son Yahya, even though he was old. God kept his promise, and Yahya's birth was a miracle. Yahya became a righteous prophet, showing God's power and the importance of faith and prayer. Zachariah's story reminds us that, no matter our age or situation, God hears our prayers and can do amazing things when we trust him. Yahya, Zachariah's son, was a special prophet from a young age. He lived a simple life, focusing on worship, prayer, and sharing God's message. Known for his goodness, wisdom, and powerful words, Yahya prepared people for Prophet Isa. Like other prophets, Yahya told people to repent and worship the one true God. He baptized those who believed, showing they were cleansed and committed to a good life. Yahya's life teaches us to be good, humble, and dedicate our lives to serving God. Isa, the Messiah, was miraculously born to Maryam, a virgin. This shows God's amazing power. Isa talked as a baby, defending his mother and proclaiming he was a prophet. With God's permission, he performed miracles, healing the sick, curing the blind, and even raising the dead. He taught about love, compassion, and following God's rules. He emphasized that there is only one God. Isa's life and message are important in Islam, reminding us of God's power and the importance of compassion, forgiveness, and believing in God. Muhammad, the last and greatest prophet, was born in Makkah, a city full of idol worship. God chose him to be his final messenger, and he received the Qur'an, a guide for everyone. His life, from humble beginnings to leading the first Muslim community, is an example for all Muslims. He taught about the one God, prayer, charity, fasting, and pilgrimage to the Kaaba. The Qur'an, revealed over 23 years, is a miracle, full of wisdom and guidance. It is God's final message, confirming and completing the messages of the prophets before him. Glory be to God, friends. What an amazing journey learning about these special people chosen by God. Their stories, full of miracles, struggles, and strong faith, inspire us. Let's remember their messages, try to be like them, and hold on to God, who sent them as lights in a dark world. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe, share this video, leave comments below, and click the bell for notifications. Until next time, peace be upon you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, share, comment, and click the bell. See you in the next video.